Okay, so hi everyone, welcome. I'm really happy to have you here, and we have amazing weather, and I wore red for Christmas, so let's kick this off. We will talk about the concept of upper limit and how to crush it, because it's key if you want to achieve something bigger than you already have, and we'll talk about that. So first, a little bit about myself. So my main work is with CEOs of scale-ups who really want to create more impact and build a legacy that lasts. And why scale-ups is basically, I found out that that's where my zone of genius lays, given my business acumen, my 15 years of experience. When you have a startup and then you need to scale up, there's a very different leadership that is needed when you need to lead the leaders. And I feel very passionate about helping those ambitious, startuppers to actually step into a more senior leadership where they can actually lead the company and create amazing culture. I also work with committed leaders who want to create an impact. So it can be, I have clients in engineering roles, leading engineering roles, and many different sales and operations and so on. But it's always about creating leadership presence and gaining that unshakable confidence within you that you can actually show up as your best self and lead, really truly lead and not just kind of fake it till you make it kind of deal. And I also work with organizations who want to step into that next level of actually culture of raving fans, where many companies start seeing the impact of the great resignation, of the quiet quitting, where they complain, especially in the tech industry, the leaders complain that, they cannot get the right people, but they don't kind of see at first the issue is with them, that, if they don't create that culture where people will want to work, it's very hard to kind of keep people there and be loyal, have loyal workforce. And of course, COVID created a lot of that shift, which, is often good for the employees, but overall, long term, it's not so good for the employees, because being disengaged for majority of your life is not really cool. I feel you probably agree with me on that. So this is really where my work is, and I'm really passionate about it. And this workshop specifically, I also work with my clients on this in a deeper way, because you can imagine that if they have certain limits that block them from growth, it's impacting and affecting everyone around them. So how can you crush your upper limit? This workshop is all about it. You can prepare something to write. I'll also give you in a minute a link to download a worksheet that is a complimentary gift that I have as a surprise for you today. You can basically use this time together and really jot it down and just use this time right now, right here. Don't think about, oh, I do it during the weekend, because we never do it later. So just play full out right now and take the most out of it, since you already spend your precious time here with me. So why do we even have it? Why is it a problem? I don't know if you know it, but our conscious mind really decides and controls about 4% of what we actually do and create. And everything else is controlled by the subconscious mind. You probably have seen the iceberg concept, where, over here is what we kind of see, and everything else is the unconscious bias, is the culture, the beliefs, and all of that stuff, right? And most of the people don't understand how covered that is, even for themselves. When we see the iceberg, especially in the corporate presentations, we think, oh yeah, my boss doesn't understand me because everything is deep down. the point is that we ourselves don't understand what's deep down, and we are being managed by our subconscious mind. And when you think about children up to I think around age 4, they are open, wide open, sponge. They get everything in their subconscious mind. So whether someone says rich people are bad people, or money is terrible, or you shouldn't want more, or be happy what you're getting, if it's about Christmas gifts even, right? Everything gets like in that big computer of ours, and later it directs our life and how we are able to receive, or how we are able to give, how we are able to open up, how we are leading, and all of that, right? So this is extremely important. And basically how we can change that to bring this up, first of all, right, to gain the awareness, but then it's not enough often to gain the awareness. We have to create a new neural paths. We need to create new patterns. We have to replace them. And it takes, like with habits, about 21 days, or it takes a massive impact, emotional impact, to change quickly. Emotions are really the one thing that allow you to change something very quickly, to make you kind of resonate with it more. Remember, maybe you watched a movie about animals being killed in a really bad way, right? I watched the movie about the oceans and seas. I think Seaspiracy it was called, and I didn't want to eat fish or seafood after that, right? Like, because you watch this kind of very disturbing thing, you get really emotional about it, and then bam, you may become vegan overnight, right? The same can be with smoking, and it has to be this stronger emotional impact that usually is negative, that will quickly make you shift. So that's possible. But overall, it really takes a lot of work, maybe not a lot of work, but it takes work to consciously override, and actually take some time to kind of rewire that. And this is why, right? This small thing, Bob Proctor came up, I think another doctor came up with it, but Bob Proctor always teaches that, or taught that, because he passed away, but what we consciously program to our subconscious mind, then it basically moves into our body, and then we act and do everything accordingly, right? So that's how we create our life from that. So that's how we can change it. So with that, I want to give you this quote to always remember that you are a creator of your life and not a manager of your circumstances. And what does it really mean? You can either take responsibility of your life or not, right? There are two choices. If you don't take a responsibility of your life, then you blame other people. You may get into the victim attitude. You may think that it's always the weather, or someone did that, or someone is late to a meeting and you tried your best, but someone didn't, right? So any behavior like that is just kind of a message to your subconsciousness mind that I'm not responsible here, right? So I cannot do anything. And with that message, it's very strong, thinking about the previous picture, that basically you kind of float through the life and you try to manage circumstances. So really important to decide that every moment of my life, I take the responsibility of my life and not the other way around. So there is really not, gray area here. You either constantly try to do it, or you kind of blame and put yourself in the victim attitude. And by the way, we all have the victim kind of avatar inside of us, and it's totally fine. We have a wounded part and we may need to take care of it. So it's not about also judging ourselves if we have that victim moment, but again, taking it to consciousness and changing and making that choice is very key for what we create. And how to change the victim story, just another kind of side note, is that the first step is always to take the ownership of it. Then forgive yourself or others for what was done until now. and then you can change something. But it's very hard to change something if you don't take the other steps, especially the ownership step, because how can you change something if you don't have any power, right? And if you do have the power, that means that until today, you were in power to create that life, right? So it can be really challenging when you kind of make that decision, because, well, my ex relationships that didn't go so well, then it was me, right? Then I attracted those men, or I created that, or maybe I argued with someone and I created that. So it may be very hard. That's why the forgiveness is also important, and then we can freely be liberated from it and establish new patterns and new lifestyle for ourselves. So now, why are you here, and why are you even interested in this topic? What is your why for this? What is your intention for today, for this workshop? How will you engage? So take just a moment and think for yourself, why are you here and what do you expect from it? There will be time for Q&A, so you can also prepare your questions. And why, you probably heard of Start With Why of Simon Sinek. It's very important to always connect to our why for anything that we want to actually do, because we kind of convince ourselves, right, why we do it. We get behind that idea, and then we can actually do something and not just spend time nicely and without kind of anything coming out of it. Okay, so the quick agenda. I will share my story of my transformation as a coach, and I mean, not as a coach, as a person, but into where I am today. I will share with you the 3 secrets to crush your upper limit, and then there will be time for Q&A and sort of hot seat if you'd like some coaching. I am very happy to do that. You can grab the QR code and download your gift, which is this amazing workbook that is very, very cool. And even though we will not go through all of this, not even half of it today, that's what you can do later as your homework, and you'll have prompts to actually work on this and also work on this in the future if you want. So you can give me thumbs up when you download it so I can continue. Awesome. Yeah. Okay, I'll move on. Okay, so my story is, yeah, it starts on this side, at least. It starts back when I was in my first corporate job. I was traveling majority of my time. For every maybe 2-3 weeks, I was traveling around Europe, a lot to Romania, but also to Mexico, to Shanghai, to Canada. So I thought at first that was great because I was traveling the world, but later I realized that I was constantly stressed and really scared for my life doing that job, which sounds really crazy right now, but that was my first job. It was this huge corporation where people were just a number, really. I've seen terrible things like, you know, people being fired on the spot, almost in front of everyone, which basically created a lot of fear. And that culture of fear was not seen, right? It was not visible for anyone because everyone was in it. It was like this water that all the fish swim in, and you kind of don't realize that this is happening. So I definitely burned out at that job. I was traveling very, very heavily for 4 years with a lot of stress, not being able to be at home, coming home for the weekend to kind of repack, do the laundry, and get out again. I realized after a couple of years that I really don't have any life, because this company life that I was leading was always away from my home in different places. So I felt like a hamster that was being put in this wheel. And then I was coming back home to just say hello to my family, my parents, my friends, and that was my life. So I realized that I have no even time to go on a date. Like there is no way that I can create actually my relationship or my life. And at the same time, I was really, really exhausted. At the last moment of this journey, whenever I landed in Timisoara and went to a hotel there, which was a crazy thing, I started to have a rash on my neck, and I actually started to become sick. At first, I thought, that it's the softener that they use or things like that. I was bringing little shawls or different sweaters to cover my neck. And I didn't even realize that at the time it was my body reacting to all of it. Because when I was coming back home, it was gone after a day or two. So what happened next, I actually had an offer to come work in Amsterdam, which I did not want. I did not want to move. I was already tired of traveling. But I had this insight and thought that, I can either stay here or I can move and do something different, right, for a year or two. So I did. It was not easy. Of course, you can imagine it was very fearful. I worked through that and I did it. And in the second company, it was a much better culture. But towards the end of it, I started to hit a ceiling of this kind of, corporate politics. I even did my first program called Get Out of the Golden Cage, because I felt like my cage, like I grew up to my cage and then I couldn't get out anymore. So I was hitting it all the time. And that was my frustration. And for about a year, my last year of corporate environment work, I was constantly frustrated and not very happy, even though I had everything, right? So I was telling myself, oh, but I should be happy because I have this great title and I have this great salary and I have this great team and it's all good, right? So I should be happy. Everyone else is happy here. So why am I not happy? And I wasn't happy because I wanted to create a bigger impact, right? And I had a big role, but I was limited in the impact I could create. And this is really dangerous when you are ambitious and you want to create more and it's kind of suppressing you, but everyone is smiling while they do it. And you feel like that there's something wrong with you. So I had to go through that. And luckily, I actually took charge of my own happiness and development. And I started a coaching program without thinking that I would become a coach, but just something that I wanted to learn. And at the end of that coaching program in January 2020, I resigned without any other offer, without any other job. I negotiated an exit package and I left. And my last day was March 2020. So you can imagine this was a little bit not planned. And it was sort of the worst fear that we may have, losing a job and in something like war times or pandemic. I lived through that and it was really scary. But what was a gift of the situation was that I actually recovered through that. Like I went through that fear. I kind of reached out for help and within 1 week I was fine. So I had a plan and all went well. With my partner at the time, we had a plan to go to Mediterranean sail for 6 months and we were supposed to go around April, which, I was stuck at home in lockdown at that time, and my partner left already and took a boat down to Portugal. So there was a bit of a, let's say, universe testing me if I still want to do it, and I'm happy to to go through it and stick to my plan of this dream. Because then in May, you know, I flew to Portugal and we had the most amazing travel and adventure for almost 6 months, where living on a boat, having space to think and being completely kind of relaxing, but not immediately. It took me a while to kind of let go of that whole corporate stress and actually relax. So the second photo is me reading a book, having a day, just like any other day during that time, which was total bliss. So if you've never done anything like that, it's absolutely wonderful to give yourself a gift of like a gap year or something like that. I highly recommend it. So what happened during that time was that a friend of mine asked me, hey, so what's your plan next? Are you coming back to corporate? Like, are you going to do something new? And I immediately said, no, I'm not coming back to corporate. I'm going to continue with the certification and coaching, and I will start my own business. And I did that. And January 1st, 2021 was my first official day as a business owner doing this work. And end of 2022, the third photo is me living my purpose, going through the growth, being my own boss, but also growing every day and learning every day and doing what I absolutely love, which is, you know, stuff like that, for example, or working with my clients and seeing the impact I can create. And I am my limit now, right? So if you remember, I said that I was being blocked by, you know, having that cage experience where I wanted to do something, I wanted to impact, but I couldn't because they stopped me, right? They didn't listen, or they didn't allow me to do something, right? So now, guess what? The sky is not even a limit, right? I can do whatever I want anytime I want. And this is how this topic is important, because if you are in a similar situation, you will know that you become your own bottleneck and your own limitation. And if you don't move through it, this is really sad, right? Because you cannot blame anyone else. But also, if you're still working for other people in a corporate, you can learn from my story and think that it's actually always within us. Like now, when I look back at my corporate experience, if I knew what I know today, I would have done some things very differently. I would take ownership of what I want. I would ask different questions from different state. And I believe I would be much happier, right? I would actually be able to achieve more things because I would actually do it out of, you know, power and kind of leadership, and not out of, oh, you owe me something, right? Or I deserve this, or I'm entitled to that. So that's my personal story. And now thinking, talking, you know, about you, and if you think about yourself, if you're struggling with making any impact, whether it's in your life, making changes, or in a company you work for, or when you're doing stuff for yourself, what is it that you are struggling with, right? So usually there is something that is holding you back, or there is a conscious fear of doing something, or unconscious fear of doing something, which is self-sabotaging behaviors, or maybe you don't know what to do, and you kind of in this, you just don't know. You would like to do something, but you don't know what to do. And by the way, all of these actually are fear. They just show up a little bit differently. But you can think about maybe something else, your own words. What is the struggle for you when you think of the impact that you want to make? What is holding you back? What do you think is holding you back? And by the way, if you want to share in the chat, go ahead. I'd be happy to see as well. So what is upper limit? So upper limit is the easiest way to look at it is think of a thermostat. I was just telling at the beginning that before we started recording that I was out of heating for a little bit, right? So my temperature at home was going back down to even like 17.5 degrees, which normally doesn't happen in a thermostat because the thermostat would turn on, right, at the, let's say, lowest of 19 or 18.5 and start heating up until a 21 degree or whatever is your thermostat at home set to. So the same way the thermostat works, our computer, our consciousness, subconsciousness work as well. And when you think of it, the thermostat is for heating, for warmth at home. Your own thermostat is for, let's say, a container or levels of happiness and satisfaction overall. So you might have experienced things like something went really well. Maybe you got a promotion, you went back home and you argued with your partner and you don't know why, but suddenly you were arguing with them. Or you had something great happening in love life, and you get to work and you get your boss is angry with you because you've done something and you didn't know there was a mistake. So situations like that happen to people, whether they are aware of it or not, because the moment you kind of go above that upper limit, let's say you're 21 degrees of warmth, it will kick off and get you down to that level. So something in your subconsciousness will go like, oh, no, that's too much. We're not used to that. Let's screw up something here or there. Maybe it's health, maybe I get sick. That's very common, by the way. You know, one of my clients, they closed a huge deal. They got like a 300 million investment, and they got sick. All of them got sick and like really sick, and they were, oh my God, it's terrible. So why? It's because of that. It's because of that, because it's very hard to handle more than we are used to have. And again, call it a container of happiness, of satisfaction. Money is very easy to look at it because it's more tangible and you can actually count that, right? It's more tangible. Yeah, it's something that you can grasp. If you think about just happiness, it may be harder to look at it and measure it. So that is the upper limit. And the good thing about the upper limit is that there is a lower limit, which is good. So for example, if I've asked you how much have you earned the least in your life so far, that's probably your lower limit. So you'll never go below. And you probably experienced that before. It may be even with the boss at work, right? So let's say I start to slack because I just kind of, I don't know, I'm not motivated that much. And suddenly there comes like a complaint from my boss, and maybe one is fine, I can handle it. But if there are two, then I suddenly kind of mobilize myself and motivate myself to again do something, right? To kind of recover that state. So that's the same mechanism, and it's good if you're doing if you want to create your own business, because you will motivate yourself to kind of get to that lower level, okay? And the problem will always become that upper limit later, and not the lower lower limit, okay? If that makes sense. Okay, so today I will share with you kind of the 3 secrets on this. So first, understanding the hidden barriers. And this material is based a lot on the book of Gay Hendricks, which is called The Big Leap. I highly recommend this book. I've gone through it twice, and it's really, really valuable. However, it's not only this book, it's a lot of other coaching materials and courses that I've gone through to kind of give this workshop to you right now. So the hidden barriers comes from Gay Hendricks, and I will go through them. Then we'll talk about the importance of knowing where you are today, and then envisioning where you want to be. And it may sound like a cliche because, you know, we all now talk about it, and there are more coaches than, I don't know, mushrooms after rain right now, I think. But it's about also knowing and doing gap. You may know a lot of things, but if you don't do anything about it, nothing will happen, right? So sometimes the simplest solutions are avoided because, oh, I know it, but are you doing it? Are you actually, you know, connecting to that? And there is never too much of connecting to your vision. I personally do it a few times a day. This is what keeps me motivated and growing and crushing my upper limit all the time, because I, as an owner of my own company, I need to connect to my vision every day, all the time, and live in that vision. Because if not, then I'm just gonna fall back to where I am right now, right? Because there's no other boss that will kind of push me. So it's very, very important. And even if it seems so simple, please don't think that it's, I mean, it is simple. It's not always easy to do it. So the first one, and by the way, if you have the worksheet, you can also use it to go through. There's more kind of description, and you can make your own notes. You can use pen and paper and take your notes. But the first one basically is, I cannot expand to my full creative genius because something is fundamentally wrong with me. And this feeling is, when I work with CEOs, I kind of call it for them, you have your dark side and it emerges under stress and you scream at people or whatever, and you don't know why it happens, but something's wrong with you. You are a bad guy. One of my clients says, oh, I have the demon in me. I have a demon inside of me that stops me from being a good person, you know? So there's like this feeling of, there's something inside of me that is ruining this for me, and it's only me that has this part, and there's something just wrong with me. The feeling of I'm not enough, I don't deserve it, others do deserve it, they are getting it, I'm not getting it, everyone else is doing it better, it's easy for them and not for me. With money topic, it's very often clear where maybe you see someone rich and you think, oh yeah, but they can have it, but I cannot have it because they, I don't know, they've been born rich, they are from another country, they don't have accent, they whatever, right? And it's that kind of thinking and pattern that I'm worse than, okay? And by the way, this is common for most of the people. So it's not, so you see how paradox that is, that, you know, you may think, compare yourself to someone else and think that something's wrong with me because that other person can do it and I cannot. But that person probably has the same thing, just about another thing. So it's very common across the board. However, out of those 4 hidden barriers, people usually have 1 or 2 that are more leading, and the rest may be less obvious, right? Or less kind of visible. So think for yourself if this is something that you may have. And one thing how you can change it is to kind of draft the belief that you have, exact belief that you have. So for example, like it's written here, but it could be, I believe that I'm worse than others because, or I believe that I cannot have my success because I have a Polish accent. Okay, which by the way, I used to believe that, seriously. That, you know, because I have an accent, I cannot do it. Or I cannot charge high packages because I have a Polish accent. Which is funny, right? So we, like, everyone has something, right? It can be, I don't know, I have, I'm a woman, of course, I'm from this country, I'm from that country. Just try to really think about which one is it for you. If this is for you, what exact belief are you telling yourself because then you can rewrite that specific belief and work on it. Okay, so that's kind of important. The second one is I cannot expand to my full success because it would cause me to end up all alone, be disloyal to my roots, and leave people behind. So for the CEOs, I call it, you feel alone at the top. It doesn't have to be for CEOs, for leaders, for anyone who is ambitious and wants to do more, be more, achieve more. You probably, I mean, you are in the space of personal development, so you probably experienced that before, that maybe you lost a friend or left someone behind, or maybe lost a boyfriend or a partner, or argued with someone a lot because you became too conscious of things and they did not catch up, right? And there was no possibility to sort this out. So this one is one of the big one for me right now still, that I'm actively working on. I think I've worked most of this off, but the fact that my family is in Poland still, the fact that if I go home and let's say if my plan is that I'm a millionaire and I go home and my mom rolls her eyes like, why would I need it, and what's like, that I, who did I become, and she looks at me weirdly because she thinks that it's money that I'm after, not the growth. So things like that, right? And if you feel at the root that you would be not accepted by your family, your mom, your dad, your brother, sister, and someone in your family, even if you don't talk to them much, but the fact that they would, as a tribe, kind of kick you out or discharge you, it's super, super core. And it's not something that you can just think, oh yeah, no, that's fine, because it will actually subconsciously, remember that first photo, it will block you, it will stop you unless you address this, unless you actually go deeper into it and rewire it. It can be about burning bridges, arguing with people, being afraid of this so much that you will not do anything, right? That you're so afraid of losing someone in your life that you don't even want to go there. And I had many clients so far, but one of them that comes to my mind now is that a woman who I sensed that she was not happy fully in her marriage, especially about the growth that she was experiencing, and she didn't want to go further in the growth. She stopped herself. So we were having sessions, and instead of going deeper into understanding certain things, she would not want to go there. And she would tell me, no, I don't want to go there. And my intuition tells me that that's because she didn't want to go too far from her husband. They have 2 kids, they have a family, and that's too much of a risk, right? Because if I know something, I cannot unsee it, I cannot unhear it. So there is a strong sabotage that may come up. It's to protect you, of course. But again, if your soul wants to grow and you want to grow and you want to be courageous about it and you believe in bigger things than just that, even if it's a marriage or a friendship, then you owe it to yourself to actually look at it, right? But again, it's at your own time and at your own readiness, and it's always up to you in your journey. But this can be a really big one, right? It can really block you from going further because of something like that you don't want to think you are better than other people. You don't want them to think that you are better than, that you leave your tribe, even from money standpoint or the lifestyle standpoint, right? So if ever, like for me, becoming a coach was a big thing. For the first year, my parents did not agree with this, especially my mom. She was transferring her fear over me, even though I had enough fear to deal with, like, can I make money, right? Can I make it a successful business? And she would basically constantly tell me that I'm basically not being smart with doing this, right? That I should go back to corporate and I am ruining my life and I'm ruining my career. And this was really, really difficult because I obviously was experiencing her not being accepting of my choice. So that support from the close people close to you, whom you love, can be really damaging. And yeah, and relationships break up too, and things like that. So it's very, very valid and real. And again, think to yourself, if this is yours, if this sounds like it might be you, write it in your words. What is that belief that you have about this barrier? How would you call it? What is true for you? So the third one is, I cannot expand to my highest potential because my success would become too burdensome. So you're wary of the burden of success. So this one, I think in the book, it's explained as a child in a family was really good at playing piano, and to be able to explore that more and train, it was a huge cost to buy a piano and to pay for lessons. And it was not allowed because of that, of the family, that the family would have to sacrifice for that success. So that child would feel really much the burden of, you know, oh, if I'm becoming better and better, that is a cost to my family, an actual cost, and I feel it, like I feel this burden and the weight. But on top of it in the book, and I think it was even the author, but I'm not sure if I remember it correctly, there was another child that was being affected, and later the child actually died. And that's when the parents said, oh, now we can pay for your education and your piano. So this was, you can imagine, even like, oh my God, right, as a child. So now for me to play my piano and follow my passion, my brother or sister, they had to die, right? They had to be gone because this is so much to carry. And this is, I don't have that much, this one that much, but some of my mastermind peers, they totally have it. And especially, I think the CEOs or leaders or owners of companies, they worry about it because they think that, you know, if I grow, then I'll have more problems, right? I'll have to hire more people. It's gonna be tougher. There will have to be insurance. There'll have to be, whatever, like legal stuff. So it becomes very real if you start growing and you actually need to change things around you. So you need to maybe hire people. You need to move to a bigger thing, bigger office, and you may look at it as this is too much of a problem, right? So you kind of you want something, but subconsciously you don't want to deal with that, so you stop yourself. And if that's the case for you, again, write it out in your own words, and think, what kind of trouble would your success bring, basically? If you think of your success, what would be the worst thing about your success? Like what's the worst thing that can happen if you become successful? That's a really great question, by the way, for any barrier to ponder on. And the last one is, I must not expand to my full success, because if I did, I would outshine others and make them look or feel bad. So you're afraid of outshining others. You're afraid of making people jealous, especially, I think, you know, girlfriends sometimes have this challenge. I definitely experienced that in the past and even recently, that it's hard, you know. It doesn't have to be about the business. It's if you have a single friend and you want to get married, and you can feel that there is this, oh my God, you know, you feel a little bit bad because you are so happy, but they are so single and alone. And the other way around, it can be you are single and you have great life, and you have a girlfriend where she is stuck with a really terrible man, right? And you also can go on vacation and do whatever you want, and she cannot. So this is like this, always thinking what the other people will think of you, this one is big for me, especially because I was raised in communist Poland. And a funny story, which is really funny now, when I was a kid, people would bring sometimes food outside, we would play on the streets. And my mom never allowed me to bring like a sandwich outside. She would always tell me, no, you have to eat at home because you don't know, some other kids may have no food, which is that reality that I was raised with. So you have to eat at home. So even if I ate at home, I would go outside and the other kids would have the sandwich with, even if it was funny, like a sugar sandwich with butter, or like a salt and butter sandwich, which was communist sandwich of the year. So it was really like the opposite, right? Like now I was feeling jealous of them, but that was okay, more okay than for them to feel jealous of me. So it's when you basically decided that you can come last, because it's more important that they don't feel bad, even if you feel bad, but that's fine, right? And this is so damaging. It's also often connected to the people pleaser, saboteur, and things like that. So again, if this sounds real for you, write down your own kind of beliefs so that you can work on it later. So which one is your main hidden barrier? And if you want to put it in the chat, that would be really cool so that I can see it. If you know which one is yours. Okay, let's move on. So basically, this one is, I don't know, would you walk on this bridge? The first one. Yeah, all of them. Okay, great. So would you walk on this bridge? So I often think, well, I wouldn't, but if you told me, if my child that I don't have yet would be on the other side of the bridge or somewhere hanging in the middle, I probably would, right? So the thing is that if you really want something that's on the other side of you will walk the bridge, you will have the courage. And the key is to find that thing that you really want. Because if you don't want something, then you just push yourself, and that's really destructive, right? But really everything that you want, there will be some fear to go through. So the secret number 2 to crush your upper limit is know where you are today. And in the worksheet that you can also do later with more detail, there will be certain questions to go through this work, but it's about more money mindset that I kind of combined here, because money is tangible. You can count it. You can actually understand your upper limit through money, because if I ask you what is the most amount of money you've ever made on a yearly basis or a monthly basis, weekly basis, daily basis, you can kind of get your highest, something that you've already lived through. So something that maybe is embodied by you already. And when you can have that, then you can kind of start understanding where you want to go and what's that gap. And you can find out what's your current money mindset and also what's your physical money. So, so in the workbook, you have many more questions around physical money. How much do you make right now? What's your fixed expenses? So how much do you have left at the end? Because it's not, you may have, you might make millions and spend millions and one, and you always be below, right? So it's also understanding what is your pattern. Do you always spend everything? Do you always save everything? Do you always hoard? Do you never have enough? Do you feel in that scarcity and things like that? So first is kind of like, what's your money container? And the second one is what's your mindset around money? So how do you feel about money? How rich do you feel right now? Do you tell yourself, I don't need money, that's all cool. I'm super, super cool. I don't need it, right? And things like that. What is a normal standard of living for you? What is a normal expenditure when you go to the grocery shop? What is your current kind of normal when it comes to spending money, making money, what's accepted for you is very key to find out, because if you accept right now maybe 100K a year, going to 1 million will be very hard, right? Unless you start shifting and understanding what would make you go to 1 million. If you make currently 50K, going to 100K will not be, you may think, oh yeah, I want it, but you'll be like, yeah, but yeah, I've never done it, so I wouldn't even ask for it, right? So if I went to another new job, I wouldn't ask for it because I wouldn't feel like I deserve it. So it's really important to understand what's normal for you and really be honest with yourself and not pretend to yourself that it's higher or lower than it is. And also, it's super important to understand what are you making it mean. If you make, I was just talking actually 2 days ago to a guy who was giving me so many opposite messages. One was, going for a year-long vacation with whole family of 5 and taking a year off. So you can imagine how much that would cost. And on the other hand, telling me that he was fine making 50K. And I was like, really? Well, how is that working? So of course, I would poke more. And then I asked, how much did you make the most, right? Because the guy was in entrepreneurship and having own companies and selling and exiting and all that. Oh, the most 1.5 million, right? So I was like, okay, so that was cool to make 1.5 million and cash out as an exit package. But overall, it's good to make 50K. And I was like, this is really interesting, right? So you can, so I'm telling you that story because when you look at it from the side, you can really kind of see the misalignment, right? Like you're thinking one, you're saying the second one, why? Why would he say that he wants to make 50K? Well, because of this kind of humility, right? Like, I don't need more money. I'm really cool. It's more important to have the love and the family. So it's like this grandiose, I'm changing my tone of voice on purpose here. So it's like this grandiose thinking that I'm better than others because I'm not going after the money. I'm fine with 50K. But guess what? I want to go on a 1-year vacation with everyone and I'm going to pay for it from this 1.5K that I made, but that's fine. So you see, like the money will trick you. Your ego will trick you to think that, oh, this is okay, but this is not okay. This is judgment. This is okay. This is allowed. And if you uncover that, then you can change it. Because again, if you remember the conscious and subconscious mind, your subconscious mind was created by your environment. It may be completely BS because, maybe your neighbor said something or your aunt or your uncle long time ago, and it's completely BS. It's not really true or real. But if you don't know it, then you will continue thinking of it, right? Yeah, okay, great. So moving on here, a little break for water. Okay, so the secret number 3 is envision where you want to be. For example, for me, I would love to have an amazing boat or rent it every time I go somewhere. And it takes a certain amount of money to be able to afford lifestyle like that, right? And I worked a lot on my money mindset for now. I continue to work on it for now over 2 years. And now I'm not afraid to say, yes, I would love to have a boat that is worth maybe, I don't know, 1 million or whatever, right? And why? Because I would like to sail and I would like to invite my friends over and I would like to have that experience, right? So it's never about just the money. Like we don't work for money, or we don't try to crush the upper limit to have something more, but to experience more, to share more, to live more, to be more alive, right? To do what we really want and be what we really want. So what is your ideal future? And again, in the workbook, you can find more specific questions, so we can go through journaling over the weekend or over Christmas. but what is it that you really want as a high level goal, and really make it big. Think of that bridge depending what's on the other side. So that's actually a great metaphor. So if you set a goal for your life, kind of 3-year vision, and you ask yourself, would I cross that bridge for that goal? And if the answer is no, then your goal is not big enough. Then you're playing way too small, and it's not even your true self talking, it's your probably sabotage talking, trying to keep you small. Does it make sense? So really stretch yourself. And I always like to ask my question, my clients or potential clients, and until they smile, I see a smile on their face that that's what I want. I'm not stopping to ask them for more, right? And it's not about, again, more, oh, I need more to have more. It's not about materialistic. It's about the experience and the lifestyle design that you really want. And when I say be specific and realistic, specific, very important to be really specific. You have some examples in the workbook, but realistic is not so much about the safe way to play, but more of, if now I wanted to be an astronaut, well, I don't think that's really realistic, right? I mean, or like a singer, and like a top singer. First of all, I don't really sing very well, like actually very badly. So that's what I mean, right? It would be like a wish, but it would be really not very mine. So that's what I mean, realistic. Something that you really want, that as who you are, the better version of you, but you want it. And why do you want it? And what will this mean for you? So who will you be when you have it? How will you feel when you have it? What will this mean about you and your life? What would you create from this? So tie this to the results and the mission and things like that. Okay. Okay, so again, the recap on the 3 secrets. So the barriers, knowing where you are today, and envision where you want to be. So you can have a moment to just recap that. And now we can go to questions and answers and some coaching. Before I do that, you can also connect with me if you haven't yet on LinkedIn. And I will now stop sharing, and I will also stop recording.